Welcome to our tour of research data in Gene, CHOPS Enterprise Data Catalog and Explorer. I'm Jenny Lukey, Data Catalog and Discovery Librarian on the ARCIS Library Science team, and I'm going to get us started here today. So we hope by the end of this session, you will walk away with the knowledge of what data is available to you for your next research project and where to find that data represented in Gene. We will also be running you through some use cases from other projects that have used the data, and we will be talking about to provide some additional context for you. So a high-level overview for this presentation, I'll be providing a brief introduction to Gene, reviewing the newish research-specific homepage and the left navigation, along with some callouts on recent and upcoming features and initiatives for the platform. Then I'll pass it off to Angie, who will take you through the ARCIS data repository. And then Scott will be reviewing some of the specialized data resources surrounding omics data, geographic information systems or GIS data, and the modular actigraphy pipeline or MAP. And Alexis will wrap us up with details surrounding external and claims-based datasets, including MarketScan, FIS, or the Pediatric Healthcare Information System, and Cosmos. And as a side note, before hopping into the remainder of this, this session is designed to align with the Clinical and Translational Science Awards presentation that's happening next week on Tuesday, February 24th, where they will be highlighting compute environments at CHOP. And Julie just popped into the chat the link to register if you're interested in attending that one. So what is Gene? If you're not familiar with Gene, it's CHOPS Enterprise Data Catalog, meaning it is a detailed inventory of CHOPS data assets. It is used to search and find information about a variety of assets from all areas of the organization, including CHOPS databases and data warehouses like Helix and Clarity, analytics assets such as ClickSense dashboards and reports, documentation, best practices and standards, and archived research data. It is accessible by any employee within the organization, either via the Gene icon in My Apps, which is pictured on the slide, or by navigating to gene.chop.edu. It is not a homegrown CHOP application. It is built on the Alation platform, so you will see when visiting the catalog some minimal references to Alation. So upon logging in, you should see the research-specific homepage. You will know it is the research one based on the top heading above the logo. And in that first block of content, you will see that same description that I had on the previous slide, bringing attention to what Gene is for any new users that may land on the page. This description exists on all of our homepages, so no matter which one you are landing on, that is the first thing you're going to see. And then within that same content block, we have two important links for helping you navigate Gene and be able to search and find the content that you're looking for. The first is a tip sheet, and then the next is a link out to the Gene organizational structure, which is has a diagram on it of how all of the different object types in Alation, how the content relates to each other. In addition to some explanations for that fitting together. So next up, we have some helpful links. The first one being the research domain. All content in Gene has the research domain applied to it, so you can visit this page to see a whole collection of all of the content that is research related. Next up is a link out to the representation of the Helix data source in Gene. All of the, clinical and operational data representation is there. And then you have the ARCIS archives link, and this goes out to a list of all of the research collections and reference cohorts that are archived in ARCIS that is available to you to request for reuse. And then there is the release notes link, and we do update this monthly about any new content and new features that are getting rolled out in Gene. So if you're curious about anything new that's going on, that is, there for you to visit at any point. So then the next two content blocks contain documentation on our research data services and research data sources. The first one, the research data services, is a representation of the various offerings available here at CHOP to help researchers, in working with their data. It is not completely built out yet. We are working on adding new content to it. But there is a lot of information about ARCIS in there and the various data services that are offered. And we do have a current document on the clinical reporting unit and what that group can offer you. And we're currently working on documentation for the Translational Research Informatics Group, or TRIG, and the Data Science and Biostatistics Unit, or DSBU. And then with our research data sources content that's there, this is documentation on the data sources that are represented as a tabular format in Gene, in addition to other data sources that aren't represented in that tabular format. Those include more so the BioRC, or Biorepository Resource Center projects list. CAPNet information is in here. And then also there's some information about the CTSA and the various services, source that they offer. And then at the bottom, we have our need support links. Training, this goes out to a self-service Workday module that you can do at any time at your own pace. If you're interested in learning more about Gene, that's there for you. We also have a Gene SharePoint site. If you're not giving us a follow, please do. We do send out a bi-monthly newsletter about any of the new content and new initiatives that are going on, so you can stay up to date on everything. We also have office hours every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30. We recently revamped these to include a specific topic every month. February is search and navigation, but you can also come there for any office hours needs. There is usually always someone from the Research Institute, myself, and then someone from the Data Trust office as well within the data and analytics team. And last but not least, there is a link to a feedback form in that last block there. And, we're always looking to hear from our users. So if you have any feedback, you can fill out this form as many times as you want. Just please let us know about any comments that you have on Gene. And, we just, we're here to help, and also, make the platform as good as it can be for our end users. And then this is our left navigation, which you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen when you're navigating through Gene, not just on the homepage, but throughout on every page. And if you remember the classic user experience, all of this was kind of underneath a hidden icon, so it was not very visible. We're really happy, when we switched to this new user interface, that this, really brought the content more to the forefront. And I did box off some of the more important items that would be relevant for this group. Clarity, the ARCIS data repository, FIS, Market Scan, and so on. And then the metrics, cohorts, and research collections documentation that's there. That's where you'll find all of the documentation on the research collections and reference cohorts that are archived in ARCIS, in addition to documentation on all of the cohorts that are created for clinical and operational needs as well. And then we have our documentation vaults. And this is where you'll find those folders containing the information on our research data services and research data sources. Documentation that you saw on the other screenshot of the homepage. Also, there is documentation on best practices and procedures, detailing like how like Helix access and also training is also included in that. And then the other items here are also, important as well. Domains, that's where you'll find that research domain link in addition to the clinical and operations domains. Business intelligence is where you'll find that representation of the ClickSense dashboards and reports. And our glossary hub, this is currently still being built out, but you can find some important terms and definitions here. In addition, we have an entire glossary for all of the terminology that's used in the Arcus archives. There's a few hundred terms there that are defined for that. And then we also have our AI models documentation. This is still um, very preliminary right now. We're working with our partners in data and analytics to get documentation on the AI tools that are getting rolled out at CHOP, in addition to any AI model that is used within a research project that is archived in Arcus would also be represented in here. And some new features and initiatives for Gene. Like I mentioned, our new user interface rolled out at the beginning of December of last year. And in conjunction with that, we did move all of the documentation from one object type to a different one to allow for better capabilities in preparation for that move to the new user interface at the end of last year. And then some new initiatives that we're working on as a Gene user focus group. And then also we're looking to add in the very near future representation for UNOS, or the United Network for Organ Sharing data source, and Premier. Get both of those data sources represented in Gene that is research specific for our end users. So if you ever have any questions on Gene, you can always come to office hours, or you can reach out to gene@chop.edu. And that goes to the group of people that includes myself that manage the platform, which is a combination of people from the Research Institute and the data and analytics team. And we are here to help with whatever that you need. So I'm going to kick it over to Angie now for the next part of the presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Angie. I am an analyst within the ADR. It's the Arcus repository team. And now that you have seen what's actually available in Gene at a very high level, I will be focusing on three data assets that are supported through Arcus. One is the Arcus data repository. We also have data sets that are contributed from research, and a UMLS derived reference schema. Next, please. So for the first data set, what exactly is the Arcus data repository? It is Arcus core research data model designed to kind of support common clinical research need. At its core, it is CHOP's clinical data, such as patients' information, encounter, diagnosis, procedure, medications. And actually, we also have clinical notes organized specifically for research use. Now, depending on the research requirements as well as IRB approval, both DID as well as identified versions of this data models are available. So some key features, we do refresh this data model on a daily basis. I do want to put out a caveat that because that data comes from Clarity, we are like 2 days behind what you actually would see in Hyperspace production. So with the daily refresh, we have data over 2.7 million patients, spanning over 132 million encounters. It does support both retrospective snapshots as well as prospective data sets, making it a flexible foundation for both longitudinal and static cohort-based research. On our ACOS website, we do have a list of features, publications that have used this data model to build cohorts, conduct longitudinal analysis, as well as examine clinical outcomes across domains such as patient medications, encounters, and things like that. Next. So within GIN, I just have a screenshot of what you would see. At a very quick glance on the left, you will find the data source on the catalog called data source. And on the main page, you will see like a general overview of the actual data source itself, some frequently asked questions, how you can kind of reach out to ACOS to request for the data itself. And I also have a screenshot of, again, some of the common domains that we have seen researchers ask for clinical data. Next. So the next one I'm actually going to talk about is the Unified Medical Language System. It's for short called UMLS. This is a schema within ADR, and that does support terminology mappings derived from UMLS. This crosswalk just allow alignment across vocabulary. For example, we do have crosswalk mappings from from ICD to HPO, as well as ICD to OMIP. And we do deliver this data alongside with any ADR clinical data as lookup or complementary tables. So what does this support? It does help support normalization of diagnosis and related terminology concepts. For those that are familiar with NLP workflows, which the next presenter, Scott, actually manages, it does complement one of NLP workflow, which is CTEX. And then for researchers that kind of interested in phenotypic driven cohort discovery, that does support that. I do want to kind of point out the fact that this is a semantic support layer and not a standalone analytical data set, but it does enhance the analytical use of ADR clinical data as it pertains to trying to normalize your data across terminology. Next. And for the last data assets that we have within GIN, research we do have the ED adolescent behavioral health screening data, which is an example of a contributed and archived research data set available in GIN. So we have gotten a couple of researchers after they do complete their research within ARCOS actually contributes that data and make that data available or discoverable within ARCOS. And this is one of those data sets. The data set was developed by Dr. Joel and his team, and it does contain structural ED behavioral health screening for adolescents. So it is refreshed on a monthly basis. We have over 40,000 records for patients 12 and older since 2023. Some example usage, some researchers have actually used this data sets to examine behavioral health trend over time and link ED screening results with downstream clinical outcome. It does support broader adolescent behavioral health research efforts. And on the right, I do have some sample ARCOS publications. For the first one, this data set actually supported a 2024 publication in preventive medicine by Michelle. And in that study, investigators actually analyzed over 13,000 ED encounters to kind of examine the association between fighting behavior, perceived conflict, and firearm access among adolescents. So this structured screening data enabled identification of behavioral risk patterns within ED population, which overall does support evidence-based research. Next, please. So at a glance, this is what we have for the BHS data engine. Again, very similar to what I've kind of described with the ADR. You have description, you will have some data dictionary resources for comparing data sets within this data source, as well as contact information in case you have any questions around this. So this three examples that I've explained does give a couple of range of data available in GIN from core clinical research models such as ADR to contributed archived data sets such as BHS. Depending on your study design, these resources could be used independently or combined to support comprehensive research. Thank you. Over.
Hey, thanks, Angie. I'm Scott Haig. I'm the supervisor of the ARCIS Applied Data Science team, and I was going to talk through some of the documentation that my team has put together within Gene for some of our specific products. A lot of the work that we do adds additional processing and different additional capabilities on top of the ARCIS data repository that Angie discussed. So it's a good order of presentation here. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the ARCIS Actigraphy data service. This data service was created in conjunction with Dr. Jonathan Mitchell and Dr. Benny Chen, and the team, Mike Campagna and Dupria, on the ADS team have been working very closely for the past year to build this service. And the goal of this service is to provide a set of tools that can process modular actigraphy data, allowing researchers to not have to focus on standard processing pipelines as much and to really think about some of their more advanced analytics. And so the documentation here in Gene will take you through how you can get access to this service within ARCIS. and talk about some of the different algorithms that have been implemented. And so there's a list of the algorithm library, we're calling it MAP basics, and the MAP workflow details. And then just a quick next steps. We're currently working on making this a self-service, so that researchers can use the MAP functionality on their own instead of asking for Arcus to run it for them. And we think that will really open up the sort of availability of the service, because right now we're limited by the bandwidth of the team and how many projects we can support, since we're running these algorithms for the teams within an Arcus environment. But in the future, and hopefully pretty near future, researchers will be able to do this work on their own. And if you have questions about MAP, certainly this article is a good place to start. You can also reach out to the ADS team and Dapria in particular. Ready for the next slide. So the Arcus Geospatial Data Service is one of the first things that I worked on when I originally came to CHOP 6 years ago. And it is a service that provides a set of external geospatial data sets that allow research teams to join patient information, patient location information to external information. So to think about how you may want to map, say, the exposome for a patient where you know where they live, either a zip code or their actual home address. This provides access to specific external data sets. And Janae, do you mind hitting the button once? Because I've tried a video here and I'm going to see if this will actually work. If you could hit play on this. The article was too long to actually to take too many screenshots. So this right now it's showing a list of all of the different data sets. So there's a lot of data sets here from NOAA and EPA, US Census, Philadelphia crime statistics, just a large number of external geospatial data sets. And Mike has put all of this documentation together, Mike on my team. And this goes through a listing of where the data came from, what the different values of the data mean, and it also will discuss how you can potentially link that data to the specific geospatial data you might have on a specific set of patients. And Mike has also created a number of Jupyter notebooks that will show you actually how to do the linkages. So it can walk you through how you geospatially join patient information to these external geospatial data sets. A couple other quick features to mention about this is that if there are other geospatial data sets that you would like added to this, there is a form within Arcus that you can ask for external data to be brought into this service. And the advantage of that is if a data set is brought into this service, it will be available not only to you, but to all the other researchers that have access to this service. So it's a way of just building the ability of researchers to conduct geospatial analysis. And I wanted to say a particular thank you to Vicky Tam from DSBU. She's been a great partner with both myself and Mike over the years building up this GIS data service. So thank you, Vicky. And good for the next one. So the Arcus Omics data service. In a similar way, I've tried to create a video here, but there are I think 4 different documents within Gene that talk about the Arcus Omics service. And they go from, frequently asked questions, how do I get data added to my Arcus lab? How do I get genetic data added? Who do I talk to about that? What types of data are available? This particular slide is now showing what we're calling the rare variant browser, which you can access outside of your Arcus lab to see if there's enough patients with a specific variant that you may want to ask questions about before you go through the process of creating a lab, to see if you have enough for an actual research project with specific variants. And this goes all through the nitty-gritty, which I am, to be clear, not an expert, but Manu Torres and Khushbu Patel on the Arcus Omics team have put together all of this documentation. A particular thank you to Khushbu. She's led the effort here in making sure that all of our work is really well documented and really clear to the sort of external users. But you can see how we process the data here using Illumina Cloud sequencing and how the data is provided and the different choices that we made. One of the things we found when we first started this work was that there was no guidelines for what we call the sort of the best practices for quality control and genetics data within the enterprise. And so Khushbu led an effort with partners from D3B and DGD to really write down what we consider the metrics that are required to have good quality, high quality omics data. And so this is a document here called Guidelines for the Best Practices of Quality Control. So for genetics data. So really sort of writing down what we think makes data good and accurate and transparent for the folks that are using this work. So if you have any further questions, please, reach out to the omics team, and we're glad to take comments not only on the work we do, but also on how we document it. If there's further documentation, that would be helpful. And this is just, again, a documentation about our workflows, and it goes into more detail about how we're using ICA, Illumina Connected Analytics, to do our processing. And we'll go into really high-level detail or low-level detail about how we're actually running all of our workflows. I really don't have enough time to dig through this in this presentation, but please, if you have an interest in omics data, go to the Gene portal, take a look at the documentation here, and if you have questions, please reach out to the omics team, myself, Manu, or Khushbu.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I think I'll take over from here. So my name's Alexis. I'm a biostatistician in the Data Science and Biostatistics unit. And today I'm just going to give a brief overview of some external data sets that are available in Gene. So information on these data sets can be accessed utilizing the data sources menu as shown here in this screenshot. And so today I will touch on 3 resources in particular, which I've highlighted in red. So this will be Cosmos, a collaborative de-identified EHR-based database created by Epic Systems, followed by MarketScan, which is a claims-based database with Medicaid and commercial records. And lastly, wrapping up with PHIS, or the Pediatric Health Information System, which is a comprehensive pediatric research database. Janae, we can go to the next slide. So as I just mentioned, Epic Cosmos is a collaborative de-identified database that was created by Epic Systems, and the organizations who are contributing to Epic Cosmos are Epic customers who have also opted into this Cosmos participation. And Cosmos is unique in that it integrates encounters across health systems into one comprehensive patient record. And this data includes many different topics, including diagnoses, medications, lab results, hospitalizations, outpatient visits. And it also has data on social drivers, immunization histories, patient vitals, and ordered and dispensed medication data. And you can see that the sample is quite large, so it includes over 15.7 billion encounters for over 300 million patients. And here I just wanted to include also an example of a CHOP project that recently utilized Epic Cosmos. And in this publication, researchers studied the prevalence of vitamin K administration among infants. And I thought this was a great example because in addition to this type of in-hospital level detail, Cosmos also has vaccination record data and the ability to really get detailed and distinguish between medications that were ordered and medications that were dispensed to patients in the hospital. And just to point out that this level of granularity is pretty unique and not available in all of our other data resources. We can go to the next slide, thanks. So the second one is MarketScan. So MarketScan is a claims-based data set that includes both Medicaid and commercial data cuts. It has information on inpatient stays as well as outpatient visits and outpatient prescriptions. And here at CHOP, our data includes a large national sample of over 8 million pediatric patients covering healthcare services that were incurred between 2013 and 2024. And so MarketScan is really useful if you're interested in studying healthcare utilization. For example, this example CHOP project here evaluated socio-demographic disparities in healthcare utilization in pediatric patients with obstructive sleep apnea. And the researchers were able to categorize patients based on the type of care they received, and then look at their healthcare utilization both 1 year before and 1 year after their diagnosis. Okay, next slide. And the last one I wanted to touch on today is PHIS, or the Pediatric Health Information System. And so this is an administrative data set that includes contributions from about 50 children's hospitals across the country. It includes details on patient abstract, diagnoses, procedures, also information on billed transactions, observation, ambulatory surgery, and ED encounters. And so PHIS is also very useful for healthcare utilization projects and looking into cost of procedures and things like that. And in this example project here, researchers calculated the cumulative in-hospital costs as well as costs per day alive associated with 2 different procedures. And so just to wrap up, so Cosmos, MarketScan, and PHIS are all really powerful data sets that may be useful when working to answer a particular research question. If you would like to learn more about any of these, I really recommend visiting Gene and reading through the detailed overview that is available for each data source. So here I just have a screenshot of some of the information that's available from MarketScan. But in general, the documentation, it covers many key areas, including a brief overview, but also frequently asked questions, details on maintenance and when how to access the data source, as well as an individual or team you can contact with more questions about the feasibility of your specific project. Thanks. That's all I had.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. So that's everything. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Well, if anything comes up post the presentation, you can reach out to any one of the presenters or even myself or that Gene email address, and I will make sure it goes to the appropriate person to get your question answered. But thank you all for coming today. Happy Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.